Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. Everton are reportedly very close to appointing their new manager, and it's quite a surprising name at that for many reasons, as it is being said that next week could be the time that Everton formally announce the confirmation that Rafa Benitez, the former Liverpool manager of course, could be set to become their new manager. We're going to be talking all about this breaking news story along with everything that goes along with it. But before we do, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get back to talking about the breaking news that Rafa Benitez could be set to become the new Everton manager as early as next week. The speculation surrounding who will become the new manager of Everton Football Club has been hotting up for a while now, and then obviously cooling down because things have been really talked about for a while, and then the talk has died down and it's been kind of going up and down like that for a while. Several names have been thrown around the rumour mill, including former Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe. A sensational return to David Moyes was also reportedly on the cards at one point before he signed his new contract with West Ham. And even more bizarrely, appointing current Rangers manager and of course former Liverpool player Steven Gerrard as their manager was also being talked about. A couple of weeks ago, it was reported that Nuno Espirito Santo, the former Wolves manager, was reportedly very close to being appointed as the new Toffees manager, but of course talk really died down there. And then, out of the blue last week, it was reported that Rafael Benitez, the former Liverpool manager of course, emerged as a front runner for the job. Reportedly and allegedly though, he is now very close to being appointed as the new manager of Everton Football Club, and the announcement, like I say, could come as early as the beginning of next week. As I mentioned, Benitez's ties to Liverpool make this an incredible story. He was of course the former Liverpool manager, and not just any Liverpool manager, not just any mediocre Liverpool manager either. He was a Liverpool icon. This is a guy that led Liverpool to FA Cup success back in 2006, made them title challengers a few years later, and of course was the mastermind behind the miracle of Istanbul, to be exact, the 2005 Champions League final, where he led Liverpool to their then 5th Champions League title, overcoming a 3-0 half-time losing position to AC Milan. And AC Milan back then, that was phenomenal to say the least. This is the man who, despite how things may have ended at Liverpool when his reign did eventually come to an end, because it turned a little bit sour towards the end of his reign as Liverpool manager, and obviously then went to Chelsea, one of Liverpool's rivals. He still clearly had Liverpool in his heart, and he still obviously donates to the Hillsborough family support groups and pays his respects to the club that has hailed him as a legend for what he managed to achieve at the club, and obviously mainly for that incredible Champions League triumph back in 2005. And it's so much so that the city of Liverpool is considered by him to be his adopted home. As well as managed Liverpool, Benitez has also managed the likes of Valencia, Inter Milan, Chelsea, Napoli, Real Madrid, Newcastle, and Chinese side Dalian Yifang, with the Chinese club being his last job of note, as he left that club by mutual consent earlier this year. Benitez as well is a well-decorated manager, having won a number of trophies with a few of those clubs that I mentioned in that long list, and is often spoken about quite highly and seems to be respected by most in the game, despite sometimes his outspoken nature. Should the move go through and Benitez go on to take the reins at Goodison Park as their manager, Benitez will of course be the successor to former Toffees manager Carlo Ancelotti, who of course left the club several weeks ago to return to manage his former club Real Madrid. Benitez will be taking over a team that, in my opinion, has some potential to really build something up on here, and has the potential to grow and achieve their long-term goals. And of course, with a manager like Benitez at the helm, a manager who has a wealth of experience and knowledge under his belt, that of course will be a worthy asset to a club like Everton. And I think overall he could certainly help this club achieve their long-term goals, whether it's get them started in the right direction for someone to take over in the future, or maybe he even achieves them kind of goals himself in the next few years. We'll have to wait and see. For those who have followed Benitez, particularly during his Premier League years with the clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea and Newcastle, they'll know that he's quite a defensive manager. It may not be the most entertaining or exciting football that you're ever going to watch under the Spanish manager, but it has done its job in the past. It has proven to get the job done when it matters most. And if you take the last Premier League job that he had as a case study in Newcastle, that squad wasn't a particularly great squad. Some may say that under Rafa's guide, it actually overachieved with staying afloat in the Premier League during that time period. And they did so fairly quite comfortably. So if he can get a squad that many consider to be below average to average Premier League players, to play as a solid cohesive unit, play very well, and of course stay afloat in the Premier League, which was the overall goal for Newcastle at the time, imagine what he could do with better players, with all due respect, because Everton do have better players within their ranks, at Goodison Park. They could look further up the table than that, and Benitez could certainly go on and help, like I say, achieve their long-term goals, which of course will be getting into Europe. Like I say, we know what Everton's long-term goals are. They want to get back into European football. They want to become major players within the Premier League again. The new stadium is of course a statement maker towards that, and a big step in itself in helping them achieve that kind of goal. But if they ain't challenging for European football, which is of course the top spots in the table, the top 6, the top 4, so on and so forth, what is the point of this new stadium being built if they ain't playing any kind of European football within it? The goals are obviously to progress, break into the top 7 first, then the top 6, and then challenge for the top 4 spots in the coming years for those Champions League places. Obviously, last season they took a big step towards that with the huge name like Carlo Ancelotti walking through the door at Goodison Park. But as we now know, it didn't quite go to plan, and now they suffered a huge knockback when he ditched them to go back and manage Real Madrid. So now they need to pick themselves up again, and the cycle returns to its original point. Look, is Benitez the perfect choice for Everton? No, I don't believe he's not. I don't believe he is the perfect choice for Everton. I'm not going to try and sit here and convince you that Benitez is the perfect choice. I don't personally believe he is. But is he a good choice for the club? Absolutely. In my opinion, he is definitely a very good choice for the club. Not the perfect choice, but a very good choice. His experience, his knowledge of winning trophies and everything that goes along with that is enough for me to say that this would be a good choice of manager for Everton. Combine that with the good squad that he'll have upon his arrival at the club, should of course this deal go through, and I think it's a very good combination, and I think it is something that Benitez has the ability to work with and get something out of. It's a squad that obviously will need investing in key areas. Whether Everton can completely have that again this summer in terms of the transfer market, the transfer window, and the kind of funds that will be available to the Spaniard, that remains to be seen, because we've known that Everton have thrown money around in the past few transfer windows and they haven't quite worked out, despite them being big transfers. And of course, with the pandemic as well, everyone is taking a hit from that financially. And of course, with a new stadium in the pipeline, down the line, financial matters could obviously take a hit from that as well. So the financial side of the game of the club will definitely need to be addressed almost instantly upon Rafa walking through the door. But of course, as we know, wherever Rafa's been in the past, he has had an eye for a few decent players here and there wherever he's been. He has managed to bring in some very good players regardless of the funds that have been made available to him. So he does have an eye for good players, and that could obviously be a good factor when coming into Everton. We would have to see how that plays out. But all those things all combined seem to suggest to me that this would be a very good appointment for Everton Football Club. And of course, it'll be a very good challenge for Rafa Benitez himself. It'll be a very good challenge for him to see if he can still make it in the game and still kind of achieve the accolades and kind of finishes that he was used to from years gone by. Whether that means that the game has changed enough for him, whether he will achieve them things or not remains to be seen. But there is the possibility of also a good cup run or two here and there. We know that Rafa loves a good cup run. So maybe some silverware, which would be another obviously big goal of Everton's to achieve, maybe in their future. A League Cup, maybe an FA Cup. It's definitely possible. Benitez has definitely pulled these kind of things off in the past with his other clubs. So why not with Everton? You know, from what I've seen on social media, from when obviously the news originally broke last week that this was potentially happening to even today, where it seems like confirmation almost, where we are seemingly only a matter of days away from it being official. The fan bases of both Everton and Liverpool seem very split on this. Both sets of fans seem quite 50-50 with this news. Some Everton fans don't really mind that he's a former Red and are intrigued to see if this appointment does go ahead and does eventually work out. While some Everton fans are shocked that he's even being considered by the Everton board, and they mainly put it down to the history that is between Rafa Benitez and Everton, particularly during his time with Liverpool. They make references to the subtle jabs that Benitez made whilst in the media and in press conferences whilst being Liverpool manager, that he made towards the Toffees at the time, being a key part of why they don't want him at the club. Of course, if you remember correctly, Benitez made references to Everton being a small club, and of course they didn't take too kindly to that, and of course haven't forgotten that he said those kinds of things. So it kind of seems to me that regardless of how big or how small it may seem, when things or if things do go badly for Benitez at Everton, the Everton supporters will obviously be harsher with their criticism of him than any other manager that would walk through the door that wasn't associated with Liverpool. And on the Red side, does it hurt his legacy? Does this hurt his legacy? You can't obviously rewrite history, but some Liverpool fans didn't like it when he took charge of Chelsea and still haven't forgiven him for that. So this appointment won't ease matters with those kinds of people either. While some fans understand that, of course, he wants to get back into management, and because he loves the city of Liverpool so much and is obviously what he considered to be a second home to him, Everton is, of course, good for him considering it's in a location that he wants to be in and is arguably the biggest club within that location, within there, that he can manage right now. The biggest club that he can probably manage, particularly around Europe, and probably going forward, depending on how long he wants to stay in management for. Look, in my opinion, like I said, I think Everton have made a very good choice of manager if this does end up going through. It's not the perfect choice by any means. I still think there may be a couple of better options out there in terms of both potential, fresh ideas, longevity, and having no association with the enemy, in this case Liverpool, whatsoever. But from a football point of view, it's not a bad appointment at all. It really is not a bad appointment at all. But from the Liverpool fan side of me, I'm kind of on the fence a little bit. I don't want to ever see a former Liverpool player, past or present, regardless of how I perceive them to be, good or bad or whatever it may be, switch from being a red to a blue. I don't ever want to see that. Same goes for managers, I suppose, in this case. But for Benitez, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for him because of obvious reasons, for obviously what he did for this club. And I understand that he wants to get back into management whilst staying in the city of Liverpool. And of course, Everton is just another big opportunity for him. So I do see both sides of the argument. And like I say, I am kind of on the fence a little bit here. But the bottom line here is that reports are suggesting that we very soon could be seeing Rafa Benitez in the Premier League as manager of Everton Football Club, the first manager to manage both Liverpool and Everton within their management careers. And of course, that report, that official announcement could be made as early as next week. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this breaking news story that Rafa Benitez could be the new manager of Everton Football Club as early as next week? Everton fans, I want to know your opinion on having a former Liverpool manager manage your club going forward. Liverpool fans, what do you make of this news of a former Liverpool manager going to manage your rival club in Everton? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, down in the comment section below, because I'm sure they'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.